Oh, hey there, Sean Purvis here in the lair of the deadly red-bellied Ass-snatcher. Or sometimes referred to as my man cave. Today we're going to review how to do an accent. Then we're going to talk about some stuff coming up. And then we're going to finish up with a little bit of metaphor. So first up, accents. I use a lot of accents. A friend of mine said, "You know, Sean, before you left for Florida, you sounded like you, but now you sound like everybody else." Which I took as a compliment. I think he meant it to be derogatory. I guess he missed the boat on that one, didn't he? Oh my. So, key things to remember about accents. First of all, you have to decide kind of what you're going for. You have to go for your character. Character is going to be kind of your mindset when you get your accent underway. For example, I love doing a Russian accent. And I say Russian because I'm not truly Russian, but this is how I perceive it. Oh, this is wonderful fun. No problem. It's no problem. And then, if I'm really going for broke, oh, hey, no problem. Look at you. Look at you. You're a good guy, you. And it's so funny, too, because accents will open doors for you. I was playing a very small, limited engagement comedy show. It was for a class. In a unsuspecting airport bar. Now, the patrons in the bar were not really expecting comedy, but I thought I'd go warm up the room, so I went around and said hello. And there were two gentlemen sitting at the end of the bar. One was smaller, olive-skinned, looked Mediterranean, and then the other one was taller and much paler and much angrier looking, like an extra from Die Hard, you know, one of those. So I went around and I'm like, "Hey guys, what brings you here?" And they're like, "We are here on business." I was like, "Whoa, hey." You know, if life's taught me anything, never ask anyone with an Eastern European accent what he means when he says business. When I said that, the tall, extra-looking guy from Die Hard about exploded with laughter. "You sound like me!" "No, I don't." And for about 3 hours, we drank and we talked with Russian accents. Only two of us had it legit. So it was a lot of fun. So pick your character. Whenever I start thinking about my Russian accent, I think about those two fellas I met in the bar. Very brash, very gruff. I always think about wearing a hat and having some vodka. I've done some case research on this as well. But think about your character. Really define where you want to go with your character, who you want to transform into. If you're going to be a Southerner, think about, watch some Dukes of Hazzard, that sort of thing. And that character really brings into the second phase of that, which is really character study. Now that you've kind of got a general idea of who you're trying to recreate, then you've really got to research the person you're recreating. If you're doing this South, a Southern person, a younger Southern person, maybe a little rebellious, Dukes of Hazzard is wonderful. Not real thick accents from what I remember. But pretty good. There's a lot of Southern accents on TV. Just flip them around, yeehaw, stuff like that. That's good. But really research your character. I would suggest finding a movie where an actor or actress, a favorite of yours, nails the accent. Really great ones are like Brad Pitt in The Devil's Own. That was pretty good Irish. He was okay. It was okay. I really like the Irish actors that speak in nothing but English. And I don't like this. Anywho, so once you got your character development, you have your character research. The next thing you want to go into is cha-ching, language. Study the language. If you're doing Russian, there's a Russian language. If you're doing Southern, there's no real Southern language. There's a dialect. A dialect is a variation of a language, still using the same vocabulary, but in vastly different ways. So really kind of study someone doing that accent very well, and which blends into the language. This is really fun when you get into like Mexican, like, "Hey, señor," I never say Mr. when I'm doing a Mexican or a Spanish accent. It's always senor. It's always senor. And so essentially you're replacing a large portion of your English vocabulary with stolen words from another language, because that's what someone who was in an accent period would have. You only have an accent when you're transitioning between cultures. You lived in Russia your entire life. After 35 years of being there, you got transplanted to Boston. What is this place? Hey, buddy, come on over here. That's really not a great Boston accent. New England befuddles me. That's my research. I haven't done that yet. But you love your English accents, you know. It all depends on how you pronounce your vowels. So find somebody that's really doing the accent well. Learn the language. Find your character, research your character, learn some language. I would highly recommend Pimsleur.com, Pimsleur.com. You get 30 minutes free, your first lesson, over like 35 languages worldwide. It's just crazy. And it stays with you. Egyptian Arabic. La muakhazanisa in Tiptafam Arabi. And do you see what I did with the eyebrows? And you kind of get into the character because I am sexy businessman from Egypt. La muakhaz. Shokran, you know. So really start studying your character, and that leads us into the next point, because once you get the vocabulary down and the accents, you have to study your vowels, you have to study your vocabulary, then you really have to get into your persona. You really have to figure out if there's anything they do with their face. For example, Seth MacFarlane voices the characters on The Family Guy. And he did a wonderful address at Harvard. If you ever get the chance, YouTube it. It's wonderful. He does 3 of his character voices. I want to say Quagmire, Stewie, and he does, of course, Peter. Now, Peter has a Maine accent, a New England accent. Well, when Seth MacFarlane is doing Peter, he literally talks out of one side of his mouth. Brian, let me tell you something about that. Now, I'm not really great at Peter, but that's literally how he does it. That's how he forms that voice. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool, and I must adopt that for something. Until I actually met a guy from Maine, and he talked out of one side of his face like he was telling some kind of secret. Like, I'm going to go get a lobster, and you're going to try to steal my lobster. Literally, like he had a secret that he had to tell. Like, everybody in Maine, too cold to show both the sides of the mouth. But really study the facial expressions, and really get into, like, the character build. Like, if you're going to be like a burly Russian, or if you want to be maybe a sexy debonair French, right? Je ne sais quoi. Or you get into like maybe a real active, sleep till noon, come through with the cups and the ganja. Whatever. I'm still working on Jamaican. It's so funny because I know quite a few Bahamian Toastmasters, and every time I do my Bahamian accent, they're like, "What part of the island of Jamaica are you from?" Which they would be mocking right now. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. So, assign your character development, your character research, language, facial expressions, body commitment, and then you really need to wrap it up with my favorite phase, which is practice, practice, practice. And this is where Sean gets to sound like everybody else all of the time. Because no matter how long it takes, you have to practice a voice or an accent in order to get it done. So I would spend hours at work. I'm a customer service rep for many years. And I would answer the phone like this because I wanted to see if I could handle your merchant needs with a slightly effeminate southern accent. So practice. Now here's, John, where do I practice? Hey, what do I practice? Yeah, I can't go anywhere and practice. Fast food restaurants. Hello? They have to deal with you at the fast food restaurants, darling. Yes, for my prom, I pulled through in a limo at McDonald's and was like, I would like a cheeseburger. 15 minutes later, I had ordered like 3 food items, and I'm sure the kid behind the counter spit in it. Anyway, they allow you to practice. Just don't eat the food. So, quick wrap up. If you want to do an accent, it's not that complicated. The thing is you really have to want it. You really have to discipline. You have to kind of take some of the giggle goofy away and actually commit to your craft. My name is Sean Purvis from the lair of the deadly red-bellied ass-snatcher. We'll see you next time.